Hello, welcome to the artificery quick hit of the smuggle keyword. Joining me today is Wyatt, aka Kylo Spren, and as usual, I'm Nick,
Hello.
aka the Gandork. We're gonna make this quick. This week on Wednesday, Fantasy Flight Games on their unlimited stream previewed the new keyword smuggle from the next set, Shadows of the Galaxy. The smuggle keyword, just to quickly cover what it does. Basically, when you put these cards down as a resource, you're able to play them from your resources for a smuggle cost that's different from the regular cost. They come into play, and then, or you do whatever to play them, and then you replace them with the top card of your deck, exhausted, to take the place of the resource. They
There were
shared
four of
four.
them.
Yes, there were four of them. We're going to go through them real quick. We had the Vigilant Pursuit Craft. It's a vigilance unit, costs 5. It's a 3/5 Sentinel, and it has Smuggle that costs 7 resources with a single vigilance aspect. Wyatt, what do you think of this card?
This card is bad. I don't want to play a 3/5 Sentinel basically ever, and I sure as hell don't want to play a 7 cost 3/5 Sentinel. There's no curve and no time where I do it. I guess limited. In limited, out of necessity, I could draft this card. And other than that, I never want to see it.
Yeah, I think I in limited I play this, and I probably don't smuggle it. Like I would play it for a 5/3/5. In limited, seven's almost the end of the game, and I don't want to play this for 7. So
There's
I agree.
no world where 7 resources is a good choice for this.
Yeah. Moving on to the next one, we have the Privateer Crew. It's a 2 cost ground unit, single command aspect. It's a 2/2 for 2, which isn't great. But it has Smuggle for 6 cost and a single command aspect. And when you play it using Smuggle, it gets 3 experience tokens, essentially making it a 5/5 for 6. What about this one?
I don't hate it. I think a 5/5 for 6 is a lot more palatable than a 3/5 for 7. I will say that I've got a little bit of PTSD from prepping for a tournament, and I keep having people traitorous my units. And if you can traitorous the privateer crew because it's a 2 cost unit that you paid 6 for to give it 3 resource or 3 experience, that's horrible, and I already don't like it for that reason. But other than that niche example, I could see playing this. I still don't think it's good. I'll talk about
Yeah.
more why in a little bit.
This is like the opposite of the Pursuit Craft for me, where I don't want to play it for its regular cost as a 2 cost 2/2, but I might be okay playing it as a 6 cost 5/5 in draft. Like I don't know if I'm looking for this in constructed unless the Underworld synergy like plays off or
That,
something.
that's just it. If there's Underworld or Smuggle synergy in the set that really gives a value to this, I could consider it. Otherwise, I don't think it's going to be mainlined.
Right. The next card is Timely Intervention. This is an event, actually. It's a 1 cost, single command aspect event. You can, just for regular, you can play a unit from your hand and give it ambush for this phase. It's what it does. Or you can smuggle it for 2 cost instead in a single command to essentially get the same effect out of your resources. Wyatt, what do you think about this one?
A 1 cost ambush is, I think, really, really interesting. It unfortunately is probably a rich get richer problem where the decks we already see, like Green Sabine and Green Boba, that have good units and are currently taking advantage of ECL, are probably going to be in positions where they can pay 1 resource to ambush and get value, like KT2SO for 5 or for 6 with this smuggled is probably still worth it to the Sabine player. Um, I don't love smuggling this. I get the utility in it. I'm not saying it won't be used to good effect, but adding 2 costs to something so that you can ambush it is going to put you really far behind curve most of the time for I think what you want. So it's good as a 1 cost ambush combo. I'm not convinced it's good as a smuggle for like the tempo that you're going to find use for it.
Yeah, I definitely think looking at a set 1 meta, when you look at like the green Boba deck that has like Fet's Fire Spray or the Steadfast Battalions, they want to ECL those, but they can only ECL one thing. So they might be in positions where it makes sense to pay 1 to give ambush to those. Because they're getting like major board advantage out of it, even with using 2 cards. I don't, like you said, I don't know if they smuggle it because it just comes out a little too late to like smuggle this, and then you're playing a 5 cost at 7 resources, so like round 6. But I don't.
It's
It could see play there.
it's interesting actually because it lets you really comfortably ECL out your super laser technician and then have this card as a like I'm not saying it's perfect, right? But the curve is less bad if you're guaranteeing early ramp and then also having this in reserve to like you can lure your opponent into thinking you're not going to get ambushed when you have other options.
Sure.
Again, I still don't like it for that, but it's smoothed out, which again, the rich Boba deck that's really bad and no one plays only gets better.
Yeah. They also get to ready the resource off of it, though I think it's more awkward to play that way because they
I
need like
agree.
2-1 costs to like follow up on it if they spent all their resources. Anyway, moving
Give
on
on
to
hot
the
shot.
last card. Yeah, the last card, the best card I think that they showed of the smuggle cards. It's an aggression upgrade, cost 1, single aggression aspect. It attaches to a non-vehicle unit specifically. It gives +2 power, +0 HP, which I think is fine. Like 1 cost for +2 power, even not considering the smuggle.
Yeah.
But then, interesting enough, the smuggle is 3 costs and a cunning aspect. So not aggression, it's cunning instead when you smuggle it. And then when you play it using smuggle, you to attack with the attached unit immediately. What do you think of this one, Wyatt?
Okay, so I think red decks are already okay playing this as just a 1 for 2. I think that's fun and like viable and a good use of the blaster. I think cunning decks are really interested in this because it substitutes out. Is it what's the strike first? Is that the one?
The sneak attack, or
Sneak
sorry,
attack. There you go.
the surprise strike.
Surprise strike. There we go. Too many strike cards. I think you can kind of substitute this out for that in a lot of purposes because you're willing to play the smuggle and the 1 extra resource. I also think it's probably really good with the new starter deck Mandalorian because in his case, you get the ability to bring him out, attach this to him, exhaust someone, and then swing for, an extra 2 damage. So I love it in that deck. I don't know if I love it as a smuggle card anywhere else, but it's interesting.
Yeah, it's definitely that's where I'm looking at it. Like if people are playing Surprise Strike now for 2 costs for a one-time +3 attack, like I think you'll pay 3 costs for a +2 attack, and then the upgrade sticks around, and it doesn't cost you a card. Like there's a lot of extra, or like I think it's the most value for the smuggle of any of these cards. What do you think about smuggle as a whole? Like we've looked at all the cards. What are your thoughts on the
I
mechanic?
hate it. This is my rarefied Mustafar Air hot take, everybody. But there's 3 reasons. The first we've already kind of talked about a little bit. If we look at each of these cards to keep them fair, because when you're smuggling something, you're essentially laying away that card and giving yourself a pseudo card draw later. The design space has to charge for that effect, and I think the premium they're charging for the cards we've seen so far makes them definitely less desirable and not on curve to play as smuggled cards. And so I think in general, you're always going to not love the cost you're paying compared to just having cards in hand that are better. I could be wrong about the card economy on that, but in general, I don't like their costs at all. Vigilant Pursuit Craft's a meme. It's not a real card. Beyond that, though, I think that in general, and this is like the whole Schrodinger's deck thing. If I have to replace the top card of my deck and it's a card I want, I'm gonna feel bad and I'm gonna be bitchy about it when it happens, even if I was never gonna see that card. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And then finally, I think that this is just going to lead to messy board state. Like I don't see there's any way around it. Already, like the few times people have to check their resources, it can be a little bit of a slowdown and like strange that they're like picking up resources and flipping them. And this is going to encourage people to flip them all the time, or like they forget, or they're faking you out and they're picking up a resource but they don't have anything smuggled. It's just going to lead to like weird different play patterns that I think are messy, and that's assuming 2 people with good intentions who just are like maybe normal, potentially messy players. Board state's hard in any given game. On top of that, if you have somebody who has ill intentions and they're intentionally like, "Oh, I'm playing this card. Oh, I'm being replaced. Oh, I can't do that." You can confuse the board state so quickly that it'll be kind of completely unauditable or like unable to be adjudicated by a judge when you can't even look back at what happened because most of the cards involved were hidden knowledge.
Right. Yeah, and I agree with most of all that you said there. It's definitely like I think it's a complexity modifier for the game because all of a sudden, like your options aren't just your hand, but like your options include any number of possibly face down things in your resource. Which, like like, if you usually only have three, like I don't know, 3 cards in your hand on an average in this game, and now you have like 3 smuggle cards, like it's doubling your potential options any given round, which I think just adds a lot of mental overhead to players. And then like that's where the fidgetiness comes in because if you can't remember all your smuggle cards, now 1 or more times per round you're wanting to pick up your resources and look at your smuggle cards, and I could, yeah, like you said, I could just see it getting messy. But
Yeah,
I
I
do.
I
Yeah, go ahead.
I like the flavor. I think that it's a net loss to the quality of the game, but we'll see. I could be wrong.
All right. Well, anyway, this was a quick hit. So on that note, we're gonna let you go, and thanks for watching.